I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel and the website Global Math Institute. In this video, we are going to understand decimal numbers, specifically how do we read and write these numbers. Let me thank all the viewers and subscribers for posting this request, and I hope this video is going to help many others. I made this video specifically for teachers and parents so that they can explain to their students or children how do we read and write decimal numbers. It is a very important topic and I hope my method will work to explain them in a better way. So here are 5 examples before you. These are all decimal numbers. In decimal system, we use numbers from 0 to 9 and a decimal number somewhere in between. And here is the second set of numbers where we have numbers which are related to hundredths and thousandths, right? Mainly thousandths in this page. So let us see and understand how do we write these numbers. Let's look into the place value chart also. So if you have a place value chart, which is something like we have a number, a decimal number, and then we have after decimal some numbers, correct? Then the number before the decimal, that is called ones, right? After the decimal, the place value is tenths, hundredths, thousandths, correct? So this place value actually helps you to read the numbers or even write them correctly. Let's take the first number, which is 0.1. So 0.1, to understand, we could multiply this by 10 and also divide by 10. By multiplying and dividing by the same number, we are actually not changing that number, right? 10 over 10 is 1 only. Multiplying by 1 means the same thing. But see what happens. If I multiply 0.1 with 10, I get 1. And in the denominator, we have 10. So it's now easy to understand and interpret this as what? It is 1, right? Tenth. Makes sense? So this number 1, which happens to be in tenths place, do you see that? Immediately after decimal number is 1 tenths. Makes sense, right? Correct? Okay. Now let's look into 2.1. So slowly we'll develop on this concept. So 2.1, let me write down a different ink. So if I have 2.1, I can multiply this by 10, divide by 10. So the number remains same, it's still the same decimal number. However, when I multiply in the numerator, I get 25, which is not a decimal number, right? It's a whole number. But the denominator is 10, right? So how are you going to interpret or read this particular number? Well, I could say this is 25 tenths. Do you see that? This is 25 tenths. Now, since that number was 1, we had th, tenth, and now it is tenths, number is more than 1, right? So that's a general way of writing it. You get the idea. So we wrote this number 2.5 as 25 tenths, correct? Now, we could write this in a different way also. So I have a parallel chart here. So I've copied the same numbers. So 2.5 in standard way will be read as 2 and so decimal we say and. 2 and 5 tenths. So the same number which we said 25 tenths could also be written in this particular form, 2 and 5 tenths. Do you see that? So this decimal normally we'll say and any number before that will come before and all those numbers after that will be followed by the place value, which is tenths. Makes sense, right? Let's go back to our number series. So now we have 3.24. So reading is 3.3 decimal 24. We are not saying 24. We are saying 3.24. Okay. Now how will you write this number? So you have two different ways which we have just learned. So 3 and one way which we could say here is 3 and for decimal, right? 24 what? Now this number 4 come in hundredths place, 24 hundredths.
Here is an application test question.
How did
from
I get
quadratic
hundredths?
equations
Let's get back to it.
IBSL
3.24. 3.24. I could multiply by 100, correct? To get rid of this decimal, you see the concept, why am I multiplying by 10 or 100? And divide by 100. So we get 324 hundredths. Do you see that? 324 hundredths. Or this could be written as 324 hundredths. Do you see that? Three hundred 24 hundredths. Do you understand? Because the number ends in the place value, which is hundredths, right? As you can see here. Does it make sense to you?
After attending university. The winner of this year's Certificate of Achievement Schulich Leader Award is Akshi Kandivani.
Great. Our student Akshat gets highest marks and the most prestigious Schulich Leader Award. You can be there. Join our classes and excel.
Now let's look into number this 4.01. So how will you read this number? You can see that 1 ends in hundredths place, right? This is tenths, hundredths. So we can say that this number is 4 and for decimal and 01 means 1 hundredth. Alternate way could be 401 over 100. Do you see that? Multiplying by 100 and dividing by 100. So I could also say this is 401 hundredths. Do you see that? So let me rewrite on the other page. So we are saying this is 4.01 times 100 divide by 100, right? So that means 401 hundredths. So which is same as make sense? So see, in different ways we are interpreting the same decimal number, right? Now, can you try reading this number 1 and 0, 1, 2? So we will not say, we'll say 0, 1, 2, right? Now when you write this number, you see that 2 is in thousandths place, right? This number 2 is actually in thousandths place. So the number can be written as what? Well, we can write this number as 1.012 times 1000 divided by 1000, correct? Which is same as 1012 by 1000. Do you see that? So it ends in thousands. So it could be read as 1012 thousandths. Make sense? And standard way of reading this will be 1, the number before decimal, and for decimal, and 12 thousandths. So we are trying to mix and match so that you can get these concepts straight, correct? So the first number, I could also say 0 and 1/10. Right? So you can now see that we are saying 0.1 could be written as 1/10, 2.5 as 2 and 5/10, 3.24 as 3 and 24 hundredths, 4.01 as 4 and 1 hundredth, 1.012 as 1 and 12 thousandths. Do you see that? Thousandths, right? Now, here are slightly bigger numbers. I mean, place value being much, much smaller, right? So, first number, you see, where does it end? So, all these numbers which I have written here actually end in thousands place, right? So, they all end in thousands. So, when you read them, that word thousands will come at the end for sure. You get the idea, right? So the first one, can you write it now? So it may look bigger, difficult, but simpler, right? 5 and 1,000. Since it was 1, I use the word thousand without S. Now this one, 50, the number before decimal, and 25 thousandths. Clear? 2 and for decimal, 24 thousandths. 1 and 300 1 thousandths. 0 and 12 thousandths. So I could also write directly 12. Does that make sense? Correct? Do you see how easily we have written them? Just by following a standard method of reading this as 5 and 1,000. Now let's look into alternate way of saying the same thing. Can you try it out? We could, as I was saying, 0.001, we could multiply this by 1000, divide by 1000. So what do you get? You get 5001 divided by 1000, correct? So I could say this as 5001 thousandths. Does that make sense to you? Right? Because 1 ends at thousandths place, right? So similarly, how will I read this number? So in general, I could write this number as 50025 divided by 1000, correct? Multiplying and dividing by 1000. So I can read this as 50,025 thousandths. Do you see that? So multiplying and dividing by thousandths in this case helps you understand how do we read it in a different way. Do you see that? So this number will be what? This number is 2 and 24 thousandths, correct? But you could also write this as 2.024 times 1000 divided by 1000 equal to 2024 over 1000. So now we can read this as 2024 thousandths. Is that clear to you? Correct? So the next number will be what? 1 and 301 thousandths or 1301 thousandths, right? Do you see that? Correct? So likewise, you could write the last one 12 thousandths, right? Because 0012. So 0.012. If I multiply by 1000, divide by 1000, what do I get? I get 12 thousandths, correct? Right? So in this exercise, you have seen how we can read and write these decimal numbers in very different ways, right? And the concept is, for example, 3 and 2, 4. When I multiply by 100, divide by 100, it is 324 hundredths. You see that? That is how you read it. So reading and writing decimal numbers really depend on where does the number end. So if it ends in tenths place, then we'll always have tenths at the end. If it ends in the hundredths place, then we'll have hundredths in the end. And if we have thousandths place, then we'll qualify with thousandths, correct? So I hope with this, the concept is absolutely clear. Feel free to write your comments and share your views. In case you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. You can also learn directly from me by sending an email on the address given. Thanks for your time and all the best.